How do you create these edgy, hard light portraits that look a bit retro? I'm going to talk all about it on today's episode of
Ask David Bergman.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. Here I am, as always, answering your photography questions right here on Adorama TV. If you've got your own photo question, you know what to do by now. Just go to askdavidbergman.com, submit that form right there on the site. I just might pick your question to answer here on a future show. You may have noticed I'm back here in the Lofoten Islands. I'm north of the Arctic Circle in northern Norway, actually attending a photo workshop. Never stop growing as a photographer, never stop learning. I love attending events whenever I possibly can. This is a fantastic one put on by Dave Williams and Kirsten Lutz up here in the Lofoten Islands. The primary focus is the Northern Lights, which I had never seen, I had never photographed. We saw it this week. It was pretty amazing, very cool. During the day, we've got great Viking models. We're doing portraits, we're doing landscapes. It's a very cool event. If you have a chance to go, I'll put a link down below. They're running it all through the rest of the season, so make sure to check that out. And you guys can come out here as well in the future. So I'm going to take that opportunity. I had a question sent in by Winsome H, and the question is, I'd like more information on how to do a specific style of lighting that I'm seeing more of lately. I describe it as hard light editorial style. It comes off as vintage inspired while still being modern. How do I do that? Thanks, Winsome, for sending in that question. I do really appreciate it. This style of photography, I'll be honest, it's not something I do very often, but it has come back into vogue a little bit. It really is this old-fashioned-y retro style. It looks like almost like old instant camera pictures, and it's used a lot now in fashion and advertising, and you're seeing it more and more. It's very harsh light, very hard light. Traditionally, soft lighting is very nice, you know, soft, smooth lighting, but this is really hard and edgy, somewhat urban, and it's just a cool look that's being used more and more. So it's almost like I said, mimicking that look of instant film. So how is that created? Well, a couple of things. First of all, you got to think about which lens you're going to use. I think in general, these are going to be wider lenses because they really weren't shooting with long telephotos or zoom lenses back then. So we're looking at something like 28 millimeters to 35 millimeters, somewhere around that range, I think is the most common for this kind of photography. More importantly, let's talk about the light quality. This is really a hard light source that we're talking about. The difference between hard and soft light usually is much more flattering. It wraps around your subject a bit more. It fills in the shadows. For hard light, you really need somebody with perfect skin, very smooth surfaces, that kind of thing, because it shows texture a lot more when you're using hard light. And how you get hard light versus soft light has to do with the relative size of the light. So it's not the absolute size of the light. So a larger light source much further away looks a lot smaller. The example everybody always gives, of course, is the sun. The sun is incredibly big, right? It's the largest star in our solar system, and it's incredibly far away, 96 million miles, I think, last time I measured. And but it's so far away, it's very large, but it's so far away that it's a tiny light source. When you look at it up in the sky, it's very, very small. That projects very hard light onto us here on the planet. So whereas if a small light source is much closer to us, it looks much bigger, so it's going to create softer light. So this particular kind of photography is hard light. Something like this. This is my Westcott FJ200. This is what I've traveled with here for this workshop. I wanted to have one good big studio light with me to do portraits. And so I've got the standard reflector on here. This is the reflector that comes with this light. Very simple setup, easy to use. And then of course I'm gonna trigger it with my FJ-X3 M Westcott transmitter. I'm using my Canon R3, and this is the 15 to 35 millimeter RF 2.8 lens. I'm gonna be shooting it around that 28, 35 millimeter range. So this light, because it's a very hard, small light source, that's the kind of light we're going to use. I'm not setting up a big softbox to make this look. This is just you could do this essentially with a speed light. I wasn't sure if I would get enough power with a speed light, so you get a lot more power with this. So it's really nice to have this 200 watt second battery powered flash with me instead of just a speed light. I have my speed lights, but this is the way to go for something like this. Now, besides the light quality, we also have to talk about the direction of the light. Very important. These old school cameras, they weren't bringing the flash off the camera, doing Rembrandt lighting from the side, 45 degrees over, 45 degrees up. That's not what was happening. It was usually a flash that was on the camera. Something like an instant camera has the little small flash built in, and it's just right on the camera. It's very close to the lens, maybe right off to the side or right above. So we want to mimic that look. So what I would do is take this light and I'm going to shoot it right above the camera. That's called on-axis light. That is on the same axis as the lens. I'm not going to bring it off and up and over and something like that where I try to get that kind of drama. This is straight on, direct light that is going to be basically shadowless because it's pretty much coming from the same angle as the lens. Now, normally you might do this with an L bracket. An L bracket is simply a piece of metal that's shaped like an L that hooks up to the bottom of your camera, comes around and goes up to the top, and you can actually mount this on there. If you do this kind of work a lot, that's what you would do. It holds it up there automatically. I didn't travel here to Norway with an L bracket, so I'm just going to simply hold it to demonstrate this. An L bracket is nice though because when you turn vertically, you can rearrange it so that the flash is still above the camera and not off to the side. So you're getting that same look whether you're vertical or horizontal. So that's really nice if you do this kind of photography. Aperture wise, I think I would shoot, I probably wouldn't shoot this wide open. I think 2.8 f4, you're not really going for that shallow depth of field look. You're just going for a sort of a general look. Again, you're mimicking an old school camera. Probably around f8, somewhere around the middle there. So that's roughly what I would use. I might use a wider aperture if I was shooting outdoors and I just wanted to have the background be a little bit further away and have it blur just a little bit. But mostly I'm going to shoot in that f8, f5.6 range. Also, I've found most of these pictures are generally overexposed. I usually expose for the person's face. I'm looking very carefully at the quality of light and the exposure, how bright or how dark their face is. These pictures, usually you see they're overexposed, they're blown out a little bit, and because that's the style. Again, these old cameras, you couldn't really control the power of that flash, and if a person was very close, it was just a big, bright, blown out picture. And that's kind of the look, and it's kind of the style. That does also help from a fashion sense. Again, with skin, if it's just kind of blown out, it's kind of nice. You don't really see any detail, so that's really nice. The only challenge with that is if you are photographing somebody and they're not on a flat plane, so like if it's just somebody up against a wall, that's okay. But as soon as they bring their hand out or something like that, the flash hitting their hand is going to be a lot brighter than when it hits their face. So that's going to be a challenge. But you know, where the difference in exposure, you've got the inverse square law issue, which you can Google that. I've done videos about the inverse square law. But how bright their hand is versus how bright their face is going to be quite significant. So that you may want that, you may not. That's up to you how much you want something that's in the foreground to be blown out. And then really the rest of it has to do with toning of the image afterward in the computer, how you want to make it look. There's a few things you can do. You could add grain to it if you wanted to and make it look a little old-fashioned, make it look like film. You could make it black and white. That's certainly one way to go as well. You could add an old school border, like an Instamatic kind of border. That really are those are the few things that you could do. So I want to demonstrate this out here. I'm out in this gorgeous location. I also have my friend Maria here. She is a beautiful model from Holland. Hello, say hi to the crowd out there. Hello. She has been one of our Viking models here in the workshop. I think she'll be back at some of the future workshops. So if you come out, you'll get to photograph her. And I just wanted to kind of demonstrate this with her. So we're going to start out here just up against, we're at this historic fishing hut out here at the location. This is actually where we're staying for the workshop. It's pretty cool. And so I found one of them where it just has this beautiful red. They all have this beautiful red color. And there actually is a historic reason why they're all red, but I'll let you look that up for yourself. And I'm just going to put her up against this red wall and we're going to make some pictures. So why don't you go up there real quick. Now again, I am at 200th of a second, which is my flash sync speed. I'm at 5.6 ISO. I'm at 200th of a second shutter speed, 800 ISO, because it's pretty overcast here. I'm killing most of my ambient. I'm letting a little bit of ambient in just for some fill, but I've got my FJ200. Let's power it back on. It went to sleep. So we're going to turn that on. And again, I've got my transmitter here. All set. I'm going to shoot this on TTL. I don't usually shoot TTL, but this kind of picture, she might be moving around. Again, you might want it overexposed. I actually am going to dial it up. So it's going to be TTL plus about a stop. I'm going to go one stop hot on this. One stop over from TTL, and you're going to see how that looks. So, Maria, you ready to make a couple pictures? Let's do it. All right, we're just going to do a couple, just back up against the wall. And let's just do a few frames here so we can show what this looks like. Perfect. Awesome. Just working for me a little bit. Good, good, good. Excellent. Great. Couple more. Beautiful. Looks great. The red wall looks awesome. The dress is perfect. Couple more, couple more. Last one. Boom. Perfect. Stay right there for 1 second. And you can see how those look, right? So a little blown out because the TTL +1. It's up to you on your own creativity on how you want to get this done, but that's how you do it. Winsome, thank you for asking that question. I really do appreciate it. Remember, if you've got your own photo questions, you just go to askdavidbergman.com, submit that form on the site. If you're not already a subscriber to the Adorama YouTube channel, I know Maria is a subscriber. She subscribes to Adorama's YouTube channel. Make sure you go down there, hit that subscribe button, use the little bell icon so you're notified as soon as new shows come out all week long. Thank you so much for joining me today. I don't know if I'll be back here next week. I was here a week ago, so probably not. I'm going to go home. I'm headed out on a European tour, but I appreciate you joining me here. I'll be back next time with a brand new question right here on Ask David Bergman.